That's right. It's time for Matt Gibbs from Sunrise Auto. Auto repair with personal care with Matt Gibbs and his good staff at Sunrise Auto. Matt, good morning to you.
Good morning, Tom.
You come rolling in here right like you're a celebrity or something.
Yeah.
Now, I know you probably stayed up late last night and watched that basketball game.
No, I didn't watch the basketball game, but I was up late last night.
Oh.
Yeah, I'm tired.
You had car auction or something you were watching on TV?
We actually had a church thing that I was involved with last night, and it carried on a little bit longer than we thought it was gonna.
Yeah, I was involved in watching that basketball game. I'm tired too.
I heard it was pretty good, huh?
Not if you're a Carolina fan, which I am.
Yes, you are.
Which I am. The erratic weather. You got the rain. Now you got the heat. Going to be 90 today. Got one of the wettest Marches in history. I mean, this is a good time. But you can really decide whether your tires are in good shape or not right now.
Yeah, well, tires and then air conditioning and battery. Oh, it's just everything across the board. It's just crazy right now.
I've been meaning to ask you this. I got my blower motor replaced on my Cadillac about 2 years ago, year and a half ago. And I won't say where I got it replaced at, but I got it replaced at a place. Is it possible, because now you've checked my air, it holds Freon and everything, but it just doesn't seem like it cools the car off anymore. And I don't remember the motor, the air coming out of the vents doesn't seem as hard as it used to be. Is it possible that they could have put a smaller blower motor on there than it actually goes to that?
No, not likely. But what may be happening? Okay, so
could I have a clog or something?
Yeah. So if at your house, it's easier for me because most people can see the stuff at their house.
Your vents.
No, the unit outside.
Right.
Where the fan runs and stuff like that.
Uh-huh.
So around where the fan is those coils.
Right.
Those are those condenser coils. And a lot of times if you call and get a company to come out and service your air conditioner, they'll put that cleaning solution in there, then take your hose and wash it all down. And so what happens in a car is your evaporator is in your car, and blower motor is right next to the evaporator.
Right.
So when that blower motor starts going, it's actually pulling air, and it goes through the evaporator, and then it goes into the case, and it comes out your vents. Well, what will happen is a lot of times is that the fins and whatnot in the evaporator may get plugged up a little bit.
Okay.
And then so what some cars you can actually pull the blower motor out, and then there's the evaporator, and you can look and see if it's all plugged up, and that's usually an indicator, and that will also reduce the cooling efficiency of the air conditioner too.
Okay, because in the mornings, in early mornings, when it's
nice
cool
and cold.
Oh, it's ice cold.
Yeah,
We'll run you out of there.
Yeah.
But like, I'll get the car today when we leave from here. I'll get the car today. It'll never cool. I'll have it on low, which is 61, and it goes to low. I'll have it on low all day inside, so it's circulating the air inside.
Okay.
And it'll still never get lower than about 79, 80 degrees in the car.
Yeah, and so what I would like to do is, I would hook up a set of AC gauges right then, like in the heat of the day, and so in the morning time and the evening time, the air is not as dense, is not as much moisture,
right?
And so that's a big factor here in Florida. But I would like to do is actually hook up a set of gauges to your air conditioning system and see what the low side and high side pressures are when it's in the heat of the day, just to kind of see. And that gives me a whole. It just gives me.
Well, when you looked at it about 6 months ago, you said that it may be the cooling fan on the outside.
Yeah, well, and you actually even had a code for the cooling fan on the outside, and that could be a whole nother issue too. If you have a coolant leak, I'm not saying you do, but you can have a coolant leak.
Well, you said then I didn't have a coolant leak.
Right, but you can, and that will affect the air conditioner too.
What you said back, I remember now 6 months ago or so, you said that fan doesn't kick on as often as it does, because when I get up, if I'm going down the highway, I'm doing 70, 75 miles an hour. It feels like it's blowing cooler than if I'm sitting at a stop sign.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's because air is moving through the motor.
Through the condenser and through the radiator and stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
And that you said the fan, maybe the outside fan wasn't generating enough. But now, if it's moving through the condenser and all, it may be that there's some clog issues there. And at 70, 75 miles an hour, the air is just forced through there better.
Right, and that could be. So one of the things if there's that kind of issue, if I put the gauges on, I may see elevated pressure readings, which would a lot of people will sit there and think, well, I need Freon. It's not blowing cold enough. I need Freon. And we deal with this all the time. And they'll go and buy these cans of Freon. They shoot it in themselves.
Yeah.
And they have no idea what the pressures are. But in a lot of those cases, you'll see elevated. You'll see your low side is kind of creeping up there on the high side of the low side. And your high side is getting almost ready to pop the pop-off valve. So the last thing you want to do is add more Freon to that. So just by reading, doing what we do and understanding how cold is the low side. So let's just say you're driving, this is something you could do at home this afternoon when you're driving around. Pop the hood and you got a bigger line and a smaller line. The bigger line is the cold line. That's the low side.
Right.
Touch it. And back by the firewall, just touch it. It should be pretty dang cold. If it's not cold, and let's say if it's cool but it's not really cold, we could have an issue with going back to the cooling fan, going back to Freon levels. It should be cold. And a lot of times with a lot of the newer cars, what we find is it's ice cold out under the hood, but it's not blowing so cold inside the car.
Well, it just doesn't feel like the fan motor or the blower is blowing hard enough to.
And that's a completely different issue.
Right, and it's a new motor. It was because the old motor quit working altogether, where you could turn the air on and you could feel right at the vent that cold air was coming out, but it only come out about an inch, and then it died because it didn't have a fan blowing.
Right.
So they replaced the blowing motor. But it just never seemed, even with the new motor, to blow as hard as it did with the old motor.
And it could be, see, the blower motor, it doesn't understand. Okay, like how you change your speeds.
Right.
So your car is a 12-volt system.
Right.
Right. So all it does is it has a resistor that cuts down voltage. So high blower is 12 volts. So it's not like it can't be an issue of voltage because it works. Everything is operating. It just doesn't. And it could be that the fins on the blower on the blade
aren't big enough,
or smaller, thinner. You never know.
So I need to bring it to you and just let you look at it.
Yeah, just bring it in. We'll just check it out one day.
Good morning. You're on with Matt Gibbs from Sunrise Auto.
Good morning, Matt. Tom. Suggestion, you might want to check your cabin air filter. That's one thing. The other thing is the hybrids aren't exactly new. The concept and the idea was there, and it did work to a certain degree. What was it, 1898 to 1907, you had a vehicle called the Owens Magnetic. And it didn't have a transmission as we know it. It had like an armature and a rotor, the armature and the coil around it. And the coil was operated by the engine, which generated electricity, which turned the armature, which went to the axles, the rear axles. The only problem with it was didn't have the battery technology. I mean, they had batteries in there, and the car would move under battery power, but you couldn't get it to go anywhere. The concept was there. The batteries just weren't. But it was very interesting. I came across that not too long ago. And, first thing that popped into my mind was these, hybrid, cars, electric, powered. The name just flipped out of my head, but like the Prius and all those. Well, anyway, something to look into. It's called the Owens of Magnetic, which was, I think, quite a thing that somebody thought that one up. This way, you eliminated transmission. and it was a precursor, I guess, to an automatic transmission. The power was actually going to the rear axle through the armature, where the rotor was going around the coil was going around the outside, which was driven by the motor in the car. Hybrids, that's what I'm thinking of. This thing is. So a hybrid isn't really a new idea. Anyway, thought you guys would like to. I thought it was interesting, but so I thought I'd pass it on. Have a good day. Thanks again for your programming.
Thank you.
Thanks.
There was a lot of inventions that probably worked in the car industry that got overlooked because they just were ahead of their time.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, remember the Tucker had suspension and all that are in cars now, anti-lock brake systems and all that GM and all didn't have back then, and they didn't like Tucker a whole lot because he was bringing a car in that was technologically more advanced, although he never got one to actually get on the road and work. but the
thought of it,
the thought was there.
Yeah.
I mean, Da Vinci drew the schematics for a helicopter.
Right.
So, but is that the next step, you think, before we get to all electric, where everything, and I know hybrids are a big part of the market now, but are we going to where every vehicle is a hybrid vehicle before we get to where every vehicle is an all electric vehicle?
I don't. Well, I mean, you take like the Teslas and stuff like that; they're all just electric.
Right.
They made that statement. I look at it. I think the hybrid. Okay, so and this is just my philosophy, my thought in the whole thing. It goes back to, we've talked about this 100 times on this show. It's just show me the money kind of thing.
Right.
Follow the money.
Mm-hmm.
And so we know that the oil industry is a huge industry. Huge. So that industry is going to fight to the very end to keep doing what they do. I mean, because what are they going to do?
While they're developing other technologies to be in the market.
If they have half a brain.
Right. They are.
They're
these companies, it's kind of like Disney. Disney and Las Vegas are the two biggest lobbyist groups against gambling casinos, non-Indian gambling casinos in Florida. Las Vegas, because they're a destination. They don't want to have to compete with Florida as a destination, because in the desert in December, it's 50 degrees in daytime and 20 degrees at night.
Right.
In Miami in December, it's 80
nice.
degrees and 65 degrees.
Right.
So they don't want to have to compete. And Disney wants to stay family-oriented, supposedly. But all the hotels Disney has, all the floors of their banquet facilities and all, are ready to plug slot machines in and go as soon as it's legal. The oil companies are doing the same thing. They're working on oil and making it, more, but they're also working on all kind of alternative fuels. Like, I'll give you a case in point. Exxon is one of the largest producers of sunflowers in the world. They have acres and acres of sunflowers because they can make biodiesel out of sunflower oil.
Yep.
And so even though Exxon wants to drill for oil and everything, they also are growing sunflowers because they know biodiesel can be made from sunflowers.
Right. That's the same thing with corn.
Right.
Right.
A lot of the ethanol was pushed by the oil industry.
Right.
They don't want you to think they pushed it, but they did.
Right. And they have the resources, the money. They have the art, the research and development. Because they have such a, they're cash heavy.
Just like if Congress legalizes marijuana nationally, Philip Morris and R.J. Reynolds are ready. They're ready.
Right.
Okay?
That's right. No.
And they have the structure and the infrastructure and the know-how and the factories to make marijuana cigarettes very fast.
Right.
The oil industry has the infrastructure and everything to do ethanol, to do sunflower, biodiesel and everything. And you don't hear the other side. I've never heard their take on what they think of biodiesel and stuff like that. Because now you're not drilling. Now you're not harming the earth. You're actually growing things to create. And, sunflower oil is a huge, they can make a lot of biodiesel out of sunflower seed oil and everything, and you can grow sunflowers quick. Quick.
I tell you another thing that, something I looked into several years ago was algae.
Yeah.
So algae is also another huge.
Exxon's got a big algae place that they're doing algae.
They do.
Experiments.
I don't know if it's Exxon or not, but there's a huge one in India, and it's not just about.
I think that's BP, the one in India.
It's not just about the algae. It also feeds villages
Right.
because they use dirty water that fish grow. So it's supplying fuel. It's supplying food. It takes this waste and it gives up all this waste a place to go. It's actually very interesting. But at the end of the day, it's all about power and money. And so that,
I mean, it's not about climate change.
you know what? That's a bunch of. Oh boy!
I just pushed that button, didn't I?
Man alive!
They can't even call it what is it, global warming anymore. They've changed the name to climate change.
Yeah.
Because the global warming thing got blown out of.
Yeah.
It's shown as a myth. So now it's climate change.
Hey, I just own a little garage in Ocala, Florida. But when I saw that BP oil, the pipe that broke under, the well that opened up underneath the ocean,
Deepwater Horizon.
Yeah, that's it. And watch how the Earth was able to cleanse itself. I mean, yeah, they did their part in the cleanup and all that stuff.
Right.
But at the end of the day, where did all that junk come from? It came from you know what I'm saying?
By the way, before we drilled, oil still escaped from down low and would get into waterways and everything.
You think so?
It still
You
happens.
think so?
Because the Earth moves.
But and so all this stuff, it's okay. So there's a piece of property over on 27th Avenue that used to be a transmission shop.
Right.
Back in the day, I remember when I started in this, there was the EPA.
You just poured oil in the gravel behind the building.
Yeah, you just dumped the coolant down the drain.
Yeah.
I mean, we did it all until it became, well, we can't do that anymore. Well, this particular building was condemned for years, right? Somebody had bought the property and just let it sit there and let it sit there and let it sit there and let it sit there. And then they came out, he wanted to do something with the property. They came out and they had to test the soil.
And the soil's fine.
Perfect.
Yeah, because the Earth has cleaned itself.
The Earth cleaned itself.
Mother Nature cleans herself using things called like forest fires and hurricanes. She has all these techniques. Rain.
Yeah.
She's amazing how good she is at, her own personal hygiene.
Yeah.
Good morning. You're on with Matt Gibbs.
Good morning, guys.
Morning, Hugh.
Say, bidirectional on the driver's side. When I turn it to put it on to make a turn, it goes tick, 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 and now it's been going tick, tick, tick. Now it goes tick, 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 tick. What's going on?
You got a bulb out, brother. You got a
Got a
bulb.
what?
You got a bulb out.
Somewhere one of your bulbs is out.
Either that or somebody put an LED light bulb in a non-LED socket.
Oh, well, I know the front directional light works. The bulb goes on. I didn't check the back one, or maybe that's where the problem is.
You got a bulb out.
Usually when it goes fast like that, it means the bulb's gone.
Okay, it's probably the back end then. By the way, Shell over by the over there is $3.95.
By the Dairy Queen.
Over on 40?
By the Dairy Queen.
Yeah. $3.95.
And everybody else is much higher. A small station on the way home was $4.19, so I don't know.
Well, thanks for the update on the gas, Hugh. $3.95 is a good price on that over there.
Well, it's not a good price.
It's
Yeah,
better than $4.15.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Yeah. Okay, guys. Thank you.
Thanks for the call. Yeah. It's funny how they have little tricks like that to tell you something's out on your car. The blinker going faster tells you. But if you don't read that auto manual, chances are you won't know what that sign is telling you.
There's things like if you blow a certain fuse on your car, your cruise control won't work.
My cruise control the other day, it was working fine. I stopped, got back in, cranked the car up, cruise control quit working. So I pulled back around the parking lot I was in. I was on the road, pulled over off the side of the road, turned the car off, let it sit for about 45, 50 seconds, cranked it back up, cruise control works.
Huh.
Something in the computer it had a glitch, and that's people go, is that a bad thing? Is that a bad thing, or is that a sign something's wrong, or is it just a hiccup in the system that cleared itself?
You know, here I'm holding my phone in my hand. You know how many times I've had to boot it off, turn it off, and then turn it back on and reset it? And how many times we have to do that with computers?
All the time.
All the time. And we got to understand, you know, from 1980 and a half to today, we've gone from like a real cheesy computer system in a car that just kind of operated just the stuff on the engine
to something
now,
that would make NASA proud.
Well, I'm telling you. I mean, I did a Toyota. It was a Toyota Sienna van. I think it had 19 operating systems, 19 different. Now they're blue.
My Cadillac's got what, 26? I think.
That year probably around 15 or 16.
I know that when you hooked up the machine to it, all of them said hello.
They all got to talk to each other. They all got to communicate. It's crazy. I mean, it's you know, they have tablets now instead of radios. There's actually like tablets in there.
Is the computer system now more important in a car than the fuel system and everything like that?
Well, I mean, the computer system without it functioning correct,
it's the modern day serpentine belt, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It's the brain of the thing. You know, it's really the brain, and all these other systems are just different parts of. You know, you got your heart, which would be like your fuel pump. You know what I'm saying? And that's what keeps that thing, everything going. But you got to have that brain in there to tell it to go, and
I don't know. I've seen some brain dead people that still walk around the earth. Okay.
Yeah, but they have a. We'd say that they're missing real bad.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
They're not running on all six cylinders here.
Yeah, something. There's a couple valves that aren't hidden. Yeah, I know quite a few people. Although I'd be blamed for being that person sometimes too. So.
Well, yeah, so me too.
You know, so do you think that where we're at now? I mean, they want to do away with oil. We got only about a minute and a half. They want to do away with oil products and everything, but what are they going to do with lubrication? You still got to I don't care what it is. It's still got to be lubricated.
That's right.
I mean, metal's not going to run on metal or it's going to tear up. So what are they going to do about that? Because that's still oil-based, isn't it?
Still oil-based. Yeah, it still reduces heat. It absorbs heat. It reduces friction. So now, but if we go complete electric, where we have brushless cylinder, like servos and motors and stuff like that, I'm not sure. But we still got to have brakes. We still got we took a tire apart on a Tesla, and inside the tire it's got a rubber thing inside it.
Really?
Yeah, it's almost like it's almost like a carpety type.
Huh.
Because the car's so quiet, they put stuff inside the tires to reduce the road noise, because otherwise you'd hear the road noise.
Because it's so quiet.
Yeah.
Matt, tell people where they can find you.
You could find me at 1800 Northwest 10th Street, or you can give me a call at 352-690-1993.
And he's real busy, so make an appointment.
Yeah, you have to make an appointment.
Make an appointment.
If it's an emergency, call us up. We'll squeeze it in somehow.
So I'll just drop by whenever. I'll just drop.
Yeah, just drop by. And then, hey, Dad, Tom stopped by. Where are you at? You need to get over here, Dad.
Yeah, you've received that call before, haven't you?
Yeah.
Matt, talk to you next week.
Yes,
buddy.
sir.
We'll be back more with Ocala Talks. You're listening to 1370 AM, 96.3 FM. This is WOCA, The Source.
Broadcasting from the Ocala International Airport, this is WOCA AM, W242CA FM, Ocala, 1370 AM, 96.3 FM, The Source.
USA Radio News with Lance Pry.
College basketball season has officially come to an end as Kansas defeated North Carolina 72-69 to win their second national title under head coach Bill Self.
I'm so happy and thrilled for our guys and our school and our fan base. It was so special.
Ukraine President Zelensky has pledged to reveal allegations of war crimes against Russian forces in occupied regions of his country. Zelensky said more than 300 people were killed and tortured in the town of Bucha, a suburb near the capital of Kyiv, reflecting on what he describes as a hard and emotional day after visiting the area. Russia denies the allegations. Ketanji Brown Jackson's Supreme Court nomination will be sent to the Senate for a full vote, despite an 11-11 tie in the Senate Judiciary Committee on Monday. Jackson's confirmation is all but a sure thing, as Republicans don't have the numbers to block a Supreme Court nominee that does not know what a woman is because she's not a biologist.